to startups. And each time we had to say, well, we looked at thousands of companies, but we didn't look at that exact setup. So give us a couple months and we'll do the analysis and we'll come back to you. That's not a great customer experience. Another thing we frequently got is, can you tell me who made this chart? I'd really like to talk to them about this asset piece because I think you've got my company wrong. You're calling us asset, but really we're services and technology. And so we had to continually defend our analysis. And that makes for a very rich discussion. But we thought at some point, wouldn't it be great if there were a technology, a smart machine that would be more defensible? So we started incorporating artificial intelligence into our approach. And that's a very difficult thing for Barry and I, long-term consultants, to say that all these brilliant ideas happening in our brain that we bring to clients could actually be supported by an AI. We had to shift our mental models. But we did. So we started investing in artificial intelligence. We got some smart people on board. We made use of tools on the market, ready-made tools, like RStudio and TensorFlow. We learned terms like logistic regression and lasso regularization and neural networks, and when we started applying them. And what we did is we came up with an artificial intelligence that could look at these 4 business models and create this output for us automatically and extensively. And we could bring this to our clients, and we found that this had a lot of advantages. So advantage number 1 is scale. It is very easy to scale our algorithm up to new markets, new geographies, new customers. And so when somebody said, Megan, can you tell me what this looks like in Europe? I'd say, yes. Yes, we've applied it to Europe. They have financial reports too, and this is the outcome. So we were very quickly able to scale our IP a lot further. The next advantage was defensible. So when somebody said to me, Megan, I think you have me wrong. We're not really an asset builder. It was still a rich conversation, and I could say, well, our algorithm, which has studied millions of companies, now our algorithm says these 4 things are very indicative of a company's tendency to use assets as opposed to other asset types. What do you think about that? Because you don't use any of those assets. And then it was very illustrative and helpful to both us and to the organizations to say, why is our business model what it is? And using an external insight that's not prone to human biases. Then the third one is new insight. So when we apply our artificial intelligence to our enormous data set, we use annual reports, language used by corporations, financial metrics, and outcomes. When we apply our fancy artificial intelligence to this data, occasionally it would tell us something we didn't know. And that was pretty exciting. Sometimes it would tell us things and we'd say, I think you have it wrong, machine, try again. But sometimes we would say, we never realized that that financial metric was so important to business model. And so we were able to refine our models and learn new things. So over the course of the past 4 years, Barry and I have, for a large part, translated what was happening in our brains as we analyzed companies and business models into a smart machine, which can now do this highly analytical piece independently. Now, a question we get frequently is, so do you need each other anymore? Do we need people in this company? And of course we do. The machines aren't quite there yet. And there's a lot of things that people still do better than machines. Admittedly, there's a lot of things machines do better than people. So Barry and I still, of course, we provide the hypothesis, we refine the output, and we bring it to our clients, hopefully in a way that makes it impactful and useful to the client. Let's take a question.
So one of the questions that we got that relates to what you're just saying is, what are the most important skills that future consultants should have?
That's a great question.
Go for it, Megan.
I love that question. So I do think that a familiarity with the technology is important for everyone. Luckily, new upcoming consultants usually have an advantage here compared to long-term, sorry,
Be
Barry.
careful there, Megan.
Yes, sorry. A lot of people know the technology. It's great to have some familiarity with artificial intelligence. As AI starts taking over some of the more analytical parts of the job, what's going to be really important is the human component. So understanding your client and their perspective in a deep way, your client's personal view, what they're trying to accomplish, what their goals are, and also the change management piece. That's a big failing of many consulting firms, is they create a beautiful solution that can never be implemented, that simply is impossible given the client organization.
And what we're finding is something we've written about before, is that we really believe that AI can be used in a way that people aren't thinking about, which is empathy, right? So we all understand that empathy, which is about human interaction, is a critical component, but we've not really fully cherished it in a way that can fundamentally be leveraged. Now that we can turn analytics to a machine, we can begin to develop a skill that has traditionally been primarily females we've written about into a more scalable and more valued solution, which is how do I empathize with you in a way that allows you to achieve the goals that you want to achieve. Should we go on or take another question? Okay. So let us tell you what you should do next, and I'll start, and Megan, you can chime in. What I'm going to cover is, first of all, boards and management team and leaders. Business model change is a really difficult process. It's fundamentally very hard for people who have run their businesses for a very long time in the same way. And that's hard because what happens is, when I've done something the same way over and over again, take Amazon, I've been building e-commerce, or take Walmart, I've been building stores, or professional consulting firms, I've been selling hours, or car companies, I've been selling cars. For you to say to somebody, I need you to change your mental model, is a very difficult thing. I need you to invest in something you've never invested in, whether it be online or artificial intelligence or machine learning or robots. This is a new way for being in the world. So the first thing is you need board buy-in. You need CEO and leadership buy-in. Because if not, to the new business model, you won't get the amount of capital you need invested in this new way of running your business. And you won't be able to fully figure out what the business case is for, like we have figured out the business case for why artificial intelligence produces a better, more scalable result with a step function to traditional consultants. That's number one.
All right.
Board buy-in.
So I'm going to put that over here. One, board, and I'll include LT.
Okay? And leadership team buy-in.
Yep. So people have to recognize the value that this technology is going to bring and be willing, as Barry brought up earlier, be willing to put some money into it, to reallocate their capital in a different way that's going to create a different outcome. The second piece is find your application. What are you going to use AI to do? Now, in our case, AI is very good at classifying, and it's very good at predicting. So we're using artificial intelligence right now to classify companies into business model, and probably in the future we're going to extend that into predicting trajectories. That calculation we do analytically still ourselves. But to find the application, and it's going to have to be a place where you already have a lot of data. Data is the the feed that AI consumes in order to create insight. So you're going to need to find a place where you're already collecting data or begin to collect that data so that you can feed it into your application in order to predict something, in order to make a recommendation to your customers, to target advertising. You can use it internally, but you need something small and something that the LT is going to buy into.
And that leads us to the third thing. For most companies, what we had to figure out too, if you think about the two of us, we're a startup with about 10 people. We had to shift fundamentally our competencies, right? Which is not just our business model, but we had to make a decision. Are we going to build it? Are we going to buy it? Or are we going to partner with a startup that has it? And that was hard for us, right? To think, okay, hold on, there's three different strategies by which we can fundamentally alter the way we do things. Could we find a startup that's already doing something like this? Because the idea of displacing a $250 billion industry, the way John Bogle did when he built Vanguard, when he displaced the financial services industry, and we're trying to displace the professional services industry, that's a really big question. And so we had to think, okay, we're going to build it, buy it, or partner it. And I think for all of you, you have to ask the exact same question. Do you have a board or an investor like our team that's willing to put your capital at risk to build it and the competencies you need to build it? Or do you want to basically partner with somebody that already has it, a tech firm that's built solutions in the artificial space that will allow you to basically roboticize or robotize, if there's such a word, your basic business process, whether it be marketing or HR or IT or production, all those things. Or the third thing is, are you going to buy it? And what do I mean by that? So there are, like in the financial services industry, startups in this space in which they are being gobbled up by companies like Salesforce and Microsoft and Amazon and Apple. It's clear that the big five platforms, you all know who these companies are gobbling up the AI space. But it would be a mistake for you not to understand, just as we went from physical to the web and from the web to machine, that you can't do this. In fact, you have to do this. You have to decide as a build, partner, or buy. And that's something I think each of you need to think about as you do this.